There is a whole pharmacy hidden underground, right beneath your feet, and almost everyone alive today has forgotten it is there. While the leaves and the flowers get all the attention, it was the roots, the deep, stubborn, unglamorous roots, that the old healers prized above everything else. Because a root spends its whole life pulling strength up out of the soil, storing it, concentrating it, holding it through the long winters. And our ancestors learned to dig that strength up and put it to work in the body. Today I am going to hand that lost knowledge back to you. Let me be straight with you before we go any further, the way I would want a friend to be. No root in the ground is going to heal you in a single instant like flipping a switch. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. But the speed and the quiet power of what I am about to show you, the way these forgotten roots have eased real suffering for thousands of years, that is something worth far more than any empty promise. So grab a cup of something warm, settle in, and let me walk you through 7 roots the modern world left behind. We begin with burdock. If you have ever walked through a field and come home covered in those stubborn little burrs that cling to everything, you have already met this plant. But beneath the soil, burdock grows a long, dark root that healers across Europe and Asia have used for centuries to cleanse the blood and clear the skin. People who struggled with stubborn rashes, with skin that would not settle, were given burdock root simmered into a tea or a broth. Modern researchers have found it is rich in antioxidants, the very compounds that help the body deal with the daily wear and tear of simply being alive. It tastes earthy, a little sweet, and in parts of the world it is still eaten as a vegetable to this day. In Japan they call it gobo, and they have never stopped cooking with it, which tells you something. The plant we treat as a pest, an entire culture treats as food and medicine both. That gap between what we threw away and what others kept is the whole story of this video. Next, do not pull up that dandelion and throw it away. That weed you have been fighting in your lawn every spring is one of the most useful plants you will ever ignore. The root of the dandelion has been roasted and brewed as a coffee substitute for generations, but its real gift is what it does for the liver. Old herbalists called it a bitter tonic, and they used it to wake up a sluggish digestion and help the body move things along the way it should. Science now tells us the dandelion root is loaded with nutrients and may gently support the liver, that hard-working organ that quietly cleans everything we put into ourselves. Free, abundant, and growing in the cracks of your driveway. Imagine that. The third root is one for anyone who has forgotten what a real night of sleep feels like. Valerian. For more than 2,000 years, going all the way back to ancient Greece and Rome, this root has been the remedy people reached for when sleep would not come. It has a powerful, earthy smell, one that some folks find a little strange at first, but the calm it brings has made it worth it for countless generations. Studies suggest valerian may help you fall asleep a little faster and rest a little deeper, working on the same calming pathways in the brain that prescription sleep aids target, only far more gently. A cup of valerian tea an hour before bed, and the racing mind begins, at last, to slow. And unlike so many of the things we reach for to sleep, you do not wake up the next morning feeling drugged and heavy. You wake up feeling like you simply, finally, rested. That is the difference our ancestors understood. They were not trying to knock the body out. They were trying to coax it back toward its own natural rhythm. Fourth on our list is licorice root, and I do not mean the candy. Real licorice root has been treasured in both traditional Chinese and Egyptian medicine for thousands of years, used to soothe a sore throat, calm an angry stomach, and ease a stubborn cough. There is a reason it shows up in so many old remedies. It has a naturally sweet, comforting flavor and a soothing quality that coats and calms irritated tissue. Now, this is one to use with respect and in moderation, because in large amounts over time it can affect blood pressure, but a warm cup when your throat is raw is a remedy your great-grandparents would recognize instantly. Let me tell you about the 5th, marshmallow root. And no, this is not where the campfire treat comes from, not really. This humble plant grows a root packed with a soft, slippery substance the old healers called mucilage. When you steep it in water, it turns silky, and that silkiness is exactly the point. For centuries it has been used to coat and comfort a scratchy throat, a tender stomach, an irritated gut. There is something almost tender about it, the way it wraps the body's raw places in softness. A cold infusion of marshmallow root, sipped slowly, has brought relief to people long before any lozenge was ever wrapped in plastic. The sixth is yellow dock, a root most people have never heard named even once. It grows wild across much of the world, considered a nuisance by those who do not know better. But traditional healers reached for yellow dock to support digestion and to help the body with iron, which is why it was so often given to those who felt weak, pale, and worn down to nothing. It is a bitter root, and that bitterness is part of how it works, gently stimulating the digestive system to do its job. Like so much on this list, it was hiding in plain sight, dismissed as a weed by people who had forgotten what their own grandmothers knew. And finally, the seventh, Astragalus. This root comes from the great tradition of Chinese medicine, where it has been used for over 2,000 years as a tonic for strength and resilience. It was given to people recovering from illness, to those who caught every cold that passed through, to anyone who simply felt their reserves running low. Modern study has taken a real interest in Astragalus and the way it may support the body's natural defenses. It is usually simmered into soups and broths, slipped quietly into the family meal, nourishing without anyone even noticing it is there. Now I want to speak gently to those of you who are not here for yourselves. Some of you are caring for a mother, a father, a husband or wife whose strength is not what it was, and you carry a worry that never fully sets you free. I understand that weight, and I want you to hear me. Simmering a little Astragalus into the soup you are already making, brewing a calming cup of Valerian for someone who cannot sleep. These small acts are a language of love older than words. You cannot fix everything. None of us can. But you can offer comfort with your own two hands. And that has always mattered more than we let ourselves believe. Before you go, let me say the thing that honesty demands. These forgotten roots are partners to your health, not substitutes for real medical care. They are not a reason to skip the doctor, and they are not a cure for serious disease. Several of them, licorice especially, can interact with medications or existing conditions. So please speak with your physician or pharmacist before adding anything new, particularly if you're already taking something. The old healers were wise enough to use every tool they had, and we should be wise enough to do the same. So the next time you are tempted to yank a dandelion from the yard, or you walk past a tangle of burdock at the edge of a field, remember what you are really looking at. Not weeds, not nuisances. A forgotten pharmacy, patient and waiting, exactly where it has always been. Every one of these roots survived because it earned its place, generation after generation, in kitchens and sick rooms and gardens tended by people who could not afford to be wrong about what kept them alive. The knowledge nearly disappeared in a single lifetime, swept aside and labeled old-fashioned, but it did not vanish completely, because people like you went looking for it again. Dig a little deeper, stay curious, and stay with me, because the ground beneath us still has so many secrets left to give, and I intend to keep handing them back to you, one root at a time.